Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 107. If it's a procedure that works, follow it consistently. Recorded live Sunday, September 22nd, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. Joining us this week is mostly the usual suspects. We're missing one. Where did he say he was again?
Serbia.
Bosnia.
Somewhere over there. Serbia.
Yes. Somewhere in the northeastern corner of Erbia.
Never Heatherlands.
Erbia.
One of the IAs.
Yeah. One of the Erbias, whatever.
Near
right,
Croatia.
Croatia, Serbia. Something like that. Anyway,
Bosnia-Herzegovina. Yes.
So hello from way over by there. All right. And also joining us the other usual suspects that we have, the former contributing writer over at Gear Diary and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and living in the Retro Arcade podcast, and of course editor at large over here or at Slimming here at iTechGear.org, brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
Good evening, folks. Doing well. Had a really good weekend with physical activity galore, which is why I'm behind on writing and everything else, but it's okay. It's better than the alternative.
Very true. Very true.
Better than getting fat.
That's true. That's true. So also joining us this week, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, and of course also editor at Slimming here at iTechGear.org, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm okay. Have you ever had one of those weeks that you felt like was a month long instead of a week?
Yes. It's been a very long week today. Yes.
That was me this week, but I know things will get better. They always do.
A very long week today. Yes, I use that one often at the office, especially on a Friday, because doggone, Anyway, glad that it's getting better, et cetera, et cetera. It's not necessarily getting any better. Here's a segue. The EU is effectively compelling Apple to improve iOS interoperability. Talk to me, Larry.
Under the scope of, and I'll add, the always in the news these days, Digital Markets Act.
And they are milking that thing to death.
They are milking the heck out of it. The EU announced proceedings that will supposedly compel Apple to improve support for third-party connected devices. This would be things like smartwatches, headphones, VR headsets, iPhones, iPads. But what I thought was quite interesting, and I read this a couple of times and tried to read into it what I think Apple was telling them, was Apple politely responded to the EU with a beautifully worded FU response. It was so good, I have to read this.
It's pretty good.
This is what Mr. Tim said. At Apple, we're proud of the fact that we've built over 250,000 APIs that allow developers to build apps that access our operating system and functionalities in a way that ensures users' privacy and security. To comply with the DMA, we've also created ways for apps in the EU to request additional interoperability with iOS and iPadOS while still protecting our users. Undermining these protections that we've built over time would put European consumers at a risk, giving bad actors more ways to access their devices and data. Well, we'll continue to work constructively with the EU on a path forward that protects our users and clarifies the regulations. In other words, we'll do this our way on our damn own terms.
Which is very well worded. It was very well worded.
Go find yourself another iPad and an iOS. We can't use ours.
Yes. No,
what's your take on this?
I actually don't. I actually agree. All right. Well, I will tell you that, since I'm a smart watch junkie.
Right.
You know I
Yeah,
am.
we know.
All right. And you know I have an Apple Watch, but we've been over this whole thing with watch faces and complications and the amount of data and being able, and you agreed with me after a while, Larry, that
Yep.
looking at some of the things that I really was looking for, the watch faces on the Apple Watch were seriously lacking comparatively. All right. And while it would be wonderful to have those devices work more seamlessly or work seamlessly with the iPhone, all right, or iOS and iPad OS, to be very, very honest, I don't ever see Apple going to that level of interoperability, and I
Right.
don't see them making it any
I don't
easier.
think
If
it's
you
because they
want a
don't want to.
smartwatch, Apple's point is, look, we
It's
offer a
security,
platform.
security, security.
No, not
We offer
really.
privacy. We offer a platform that provides the user with privacy and security of data. If you want a smartwatch that works with your iPhone, please buy an Apple Watch. We have it right here, and there's a variety of them from $199, on up.
Right.
All right.
So you can use Wear OS with iOS.
You
I
can.
tried.
You
And
can.
it is not is the same problem you have when you try to take a Wear OS watch when you take a Wear OS watch to iOS, is that the functions on the Wear OS watch do not work as nicely with a iOS based device as it does with an Android based device.
Well,
If
again,
Apple did the same thing and made the Apple Watch work on an Android device, it would have the same freaking problem.
I agree with
Security, I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
security isn't really a big deal here. I mean,
well,
But there will be some
Apple
issues with
Apple promises that, but that's all we have is their promise. Generally has been proven by third party researchers, but in a lot of cases, all we have is their promise. All right,
well,
so they promise that it's going to be more secure, and that's great, but it has been somewhat proven in other, by various sources. I'm not going to go pick
well,
any right
if
now,
you
but
remember, step into the Wayback Machine with me.
right.
All right. All right, let's go back to 2015 when Apple first introduced the Apple Watch and the Apple Watch Edition, which was that, very expensive $10,000 gold thing and on down. And there were, any level of prices that they wanted to charge for the Apple Watch, but it was all the same hardware, right?
Right.
It was just the casing and the bands, right? Originally, though, they had planned and were working towards allowing the Apple Watch to work with Android. And they were going to do that until finally someone said, why? Yes,
Right.
we'll initially sell more Apple Watches, but we want to get them over on our platform.
Yeah, it's not like it was when
Mhm.
Apple made the iPod work with Windows. It's
No.
just not
Yeah.
where it was.
No.
I think we're missing part of the point. I think it has a lot to do, a whole lot to do with ecosystems. Everybody wishes that features would cross the ecosystem line. And in all honesty, there's a lot of beautiful things that a Samsung phone, a Galaxy does. They're wonderful devices, but I don't expect or demand Samsung put them on my Apple Watch. And I don't think that the people that own a Samsung or a Pixel Pro 9, I don't think they're clamoring for everything that the iPhone or the Apple Watch gives them. They're happy with what they have.
It all works. It's because it all works together, right? It's all of their devices.
Wait a
All of
minute.
their devices work and talk together, and they all swim in that same ecosystem. You've got apps and apps for the phones and applets.
Yeah, like
companion applets
call
that work on the
screening on
watch.
a Google phone is absolutely the best of any phone. Apple doesn't even have it. Basically, they have what they call monitor the voicemail
Here-
for 30 seconds. Big deal.
Here's one thing where I could see Android users wanting an Apple Watch working with their device. If in event, and you already heard what I had to say about that.
Yeah.
If blood glucose monitoring becomes a
medical
thing
stuff. Yep.
on Apple Watch,
That may
I'm
be
sorry,
when that may be
Android.
when they cross the streams, right? At
Well,
that
That
point,
may
they
be
may
when a lot
cross
of
the streams.
Pixel, where a lot of Android users cross the line and go buy an Apple Watch too.
This is what I'm saying.
right.
Yeah. This is what
well,
I'm saying.
and that's where I would love to see the Apple Watch work on Android. Now, if it doesn't, am I willing to switch for it? You know what? Probably not.
Well, see, this
As
is
much as I
more
want it.
Why would you?
based on the article, though. Based on the
Right.
article, this is more about getting Android or other type of accessories to work with iPhone and not the other way around.
Yeah, the EU is misguided here because I can take a Garmin watch and buy it and have it work on iOS today. People use it with it all the
You
time.
can.
It's a third party
You can,
one,
but you don't
and
get the
it
same
works-
level of
You do not
functionality.
get the
Nope.
features and functionality.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
And
nope,
that's
nope,
and
nope,
that's what
nope,
and that's
no,
what they're saying.
no.
It should work seamlessly.
The
And
little
No,
hands
like-
still turn around, and you still get a
Here's-
clock, and you
here's
get
what
a
I'm-
date, but that's
But
about it.
I'm telling you, it does. It does work every bit as good as the Apple Watch when integrated with iOS. Now, granted, I haven't tried it yet, but
I don't know.
many.
I don't know about that.
I gotta see that.
Because I
all
do
the
that.
all the
I do that.
features. Does it integrate with Apple's health stuff? No.
No,
Right.
and that's
If
where
you actually
the
care
benefit
about
goes.
that, then that's one thing. But all the other stuff that Apple Watch can do, the Garmin Watch can do. It's just doing it inside the Garmin the Garmin
The
app
Garmin ecosystem, right? It's doing
on
it.
the phone, and it works. And guess what? It works identically to how it works on Android. All right.
But
Now-
the elephant in the room is still, why is the EU on this tear with Apple?
Because Apple,
Because
they
Apple's
can't
the
stand
biggest.
Apple's
Because
success?
Apple's the biggest. Apple is the ultimate
Biggest target.
biggest
Well,
target that they've got.
not ju-
They're
well-
also the higher end, the higher the
think what it
elite
is-
sort of
Right.
purchase, right?
I think
They're the
what
one
it
that everybody
is-
wants.
Right. I think what it is in the EU, it's not the most popular. iOS is not the most popular platform.
Not by
in the
far,
EU.
no.
No, it's
Not at
not.
all.
But I think the EU is afraid of the what ifs. What if it does become that? So, and that's where I think where they're going with this is that
They may be, they may not be.
if they do become that, then Apple would very much become a monopoly in the EU, just kind of like it already is here today. Like, here's a great example. Say I go to Walmart,
but it's
I,
not.
I gotta disagree respectfully.
not a
It's
monopoly.
say I
Probably.
go to, well,
There's
here-
more
here-
damn Android phones out there than there are Apple.
There's more
I
Android
agree.
phones and
It's more than
accessories
that, though.
available. There's only one Apple
more
and
than that,
one
though.
iPhone, and there are gajillions
But
of
here's
Android
the thing,
tablets and
which is part of
phones
the
and
problem, right.
accessories.
It's like
and whatnot.
PCs. It's like PCs. There's
It's
a
part of the
billion
problem,
manufacturers.
But here's the let me as a hardcore Android person here. Let me present a situation with you. Say that I all of a sudden need to get a new phone. I need to have it tomorrow, or not a
Mhm.
phone, case. Okay, I go walk into Meyer and try to find a Pixel
No, you won't find it.
9. No, that's the problem.
No, that has nothing to do with monopoly. That has everything to do with popularity.
Availability, marketing.
Has
it's
everything to
but
do with
it's a
popularity.
faux-
Popularity, just because
Right.
something's popular does not mean that it is a monopoly.
Tell the EU
Popular
that.
is not
Tell the
monopoly.
EU that, but and it is, it is the way it is, and I understand the feeling against that, but that's what the EU's concerned with. I think that they're I mean, it isn't
That's what
over
the
there.
EU's concerned with. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, honest to goodness, concern yourselves with this. I
Right,
mean, really,
no.
no, all due respect to the EU and the DMA. All right. They are the ruling body, right? They are the government there. With all due respect, however, you cannot legislate popularity. You cannot, it's a lot like morality. You can't legislate it. All right. You cannot tell the company who is only manufacturing one phone or one type of phone,
4 phones,
right.
but yeah.
all right, or tablet, all right, or
Right.
device, even though they are an elitist sort of device or a higher end device, you cannot make them
I think
produce
But why don't they take a different tack? You're gonna, if you can either poke the bear or you can bring him a cookie.
right.
Which
I
way
why
are
are
you
they
gonna
why are
make
they
a
trying to
friend?
poke the bear?
Here's what I think.
It's a good
Another
question.
thing to think about it this way. When PCs, Intel PCs, I got one in front of me here. I can go buy one pretty much anywhere and install what I want on it.
Yep.
Whichever version of Windows on it I want. Okay.
Mhm.
It is a de facto standard. All right. That when I buy an Intel based machine, I can run Windows on it, likely. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, you don't have that in mobile phones, Android or iOS wise. I can't go buy a Pixel 9 Pro and put iOS on it if I wanted to. Okay. There is no standards
No,
for
can't.
interoperability between mobile devices. Period.
People have actually tried that, and it kind of sort of maybe does work, but mostly doesn't. All
Yeah.
right. They've tried to root the
Hence,
device and then sort of tweak the
hence RCS becoming
services
a
and whatnot.
thing,
It
which
doesn't
we'll have a
work.
story about that later. But but it's all in a matter of, okay, there should be a way that you can, instead of having there should be a mobile device standard that all mobile devices have to support, no matter what OS it has on. And I think that's another part of the EU's issue with Apple, is a lot of times it's just not true with them.
But there again, I go back to ecosystems, and you're
Right.
taking away my right to dive into the wall garden and be in that ecosystem. You're forcing me to even have access to another ecosystem. I don't want it. I mean,
Well,
not that I don't, but I mean, that's
Well,
what
I don't
you're
think they're doing that
forcing
at
me.
all.
All right.
I don't think
hang
they're
on.
doing that at all. I think what they're doing is trying to have it open, and so that if you want to do that, you can do it.
Well,
but then you don't have the same features. You've then
you
ruined
don't. You
Apple.
don't. You
You
don't.
have. You've
They
made
are
Apple into a Windows PC.
But
I
this
wouldn't
is
want
very
that.
much
they
a
are
pro- but
trying
this
what
is
they're
very much
trying
a
to do is they're
problem with-
trying to get the EU and Europe in and of itself is all about equity. All right. Each
Mhm.
country has the same level of power.
Their own
Each country
version,
has
but-
the same level of vote. Each country, it's all the same. There's no difference. They're looking for is the United States of Europe, something similar, but
Right.
very much
Right.
European in their own. All right. The problem is, all right, you cannot force a company as big as Apple with as much market cap and political and economic power as it has to manufacture things the way that you want them to. They're
I
going
mean,
to
you
look
can
at you and
try, but I
say,
don't think you're going to
I
get the
will,
job done.
we'll
It's
go
literally the
somewhere
same
else.
problem. It's literally the same problem we have. And this will be the only time I say the word politics, but the same problem we have with the political parties in this country, no matter which side you're on, is that
We want you to do it our way. You can do
Exactly.
whatever you want as long as you do it our way.
Yeah.
All right. And both political parties here are saying exactly that.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with this.
Yes, you can have the version of freedom that we are willing to provide you, and that's the only one. All right.
Right.
So the problem
what
here
happens.
is they're not going to make Apple.
That's my point. They're not going to make Apple.
They're
do
not going to
crap.
make Apple.
It
do
ain't
it.
going to happen. I'm sorry. It ain't going to
All right.
happen.
Yeah.
They
Apple
will
will
not.
work with them. They've proven they will.
Yeah, and in fact, the upcoming story we have is proving that they're willing to do it too. So
That's true. Speaking of that,
yeah. Oh, that's not until the next segment, but I guess
Yeah.
we could move
See,
it up.
and here's the thing. This is exactly what I said. All right. In a statement, Marguerite Vestager, the EU's executive vice president of competition policy, said that this is the first time speculation proceedings or specification proceedings have been undertaken. She said it is intended to guide Apple towards, quote, effective compliance with its interoperability obligations through constructive dialogue, unquote, and will provide clarity for Apple developers and third parties, which
That's clear
basically
as
means
mud.
exactly what I said. You can do exactly what you want as long as you do it our way.
Right. Thank you,
Apple's
but no
never going to
thanks
do
is
that.
coming out of Cupertino right now.
Right. You're
Pretty
never
much.
going to get an American company to do that. You're not, because they won't, they don't have to.
Well, and
All right.
then
It may be a
ultimately-
market that it may be a market that they do without. They may not
Exactly.
want to. It may hurt their profitability in the long run, but honestly, they're what, a $3 trillion company. All right.
Yeah, that's not peanuts.
No, and even if they were to lose a third of that value, they're still a $2 trillion company.
Yep.
That's a lot of cash, kids.
It is.
Anyway, well, we're going to move on. And
yeah,
speaking of iPhones,
speaking of countries that aren't in the EU,
yeah, speaking of countries that aren't
Right.
in the EU and where they are in fact assembling the iPhone 16, apparently Brazil, as well as China and India, are going to be a place where they put the things together. Larry.
well, yeah, but what was kind of interesting about this? For in background, pre-orders on the iPhone 16, as we know, have begun, and the phones are going to have hit the stores last Friday.
Yep.
So Apple is going to keep on using China and now India as well. They've been using India for quite a while.
Right.
But it now turns out that they have already started production in Brazil. They just decided to tell us about it. Not that we can do anything about it. So
Well, they were
there
thinking
are
of doing
those
this there for a while. You
yeah,
know?
there are those who
Or-
would disagree with me, but I personally, at this point in time, would rather have my iPhone assembled in China. I
Or-
mean, with
well-
India in second place. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I just right this minute, I don't want it assembled in Brazil, at least not until Apple has had a chance to teach the people of Brazil how to do this properly. If you have ever watched a video of the manufacturing process of iPhones in China, I can't pronounce the name of that town that most of it occurs in. Folks, it is an astonishing manufacturing feat. It's unbelievable.
Well, I
Hundreds
mean,
of thousands of people are sitting there in a row at the same time doing things, and it looks like a machine. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It is.
We're not ready for that. I mean,
But-
Brazil's
Well,
not ready.
all
for
right.
that.
but
So
it is a Foxconn facility, so it's not like China doesn't own it. You know,
Well, that's true, but
and
it's
they
being
have brought
staffed
their
by someone who's
manufacturing processes, etc. And
3
again,
years from now, I'll take my iPhone from there, but not today.
absolutely. Here's the reason why.
I'm
Like you
afraid I
said,
might
Larry,
get one from there.
they're new.
you won't have a choice.
They're
I don't-
new.
I
All
don't have
right.
a choice.
They
Right.
haven't been doing this for very, very long.
No, I'm not. I'm
All
not
right.
bashing them.
They
I'm
are not
just saying.
skilled. They are not as skilled as the workers in China are. All right. They are not as skilled even as the workers in India are, and they've been doing it there for what, 3 to 5 years or somewhere in there.
Yeah, but there's a reason haircuts cost less at the barber school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But-
There is. There is.
I mean,
because-
there's no-
because
and-
they're
and
going to
the thing
screw it
is-
up.
Well,
Because
the
they're
thing
going to screw it
is-
up, and you got to wear that on your head
Every
for at
now
least
and
3
then,
weeks.
someone's going to come out with a shaved head.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, though, Larry, when you buy an iPhone 16 now, how do you know where it's made?
Oh, you
until- unless
don't.
that's
Joel,
the
you
thing.
don't. You don't. I don't think you do.
No. It should say, it says designed in
In
Cupertino
Cupertino.
and
Maybe it
assembled
does.
in
Maybe it
China.
does.
So it may say designed in Cupertino, assembled in India, designed in Cupertino, assembled in Brazil. You
So
should
if
be
you
able
get that
to
on
see.
the outside of the box, I guess before you open it, you can take it back.
You're gonna
We can
know,
try again.
right? You're gonna know.
And the odds are, though, is that you may not, wherever you go to get your phone,
Well, you may not have
You may not
have
get
a
to
choice
choose,
because they may
right.
only have Indian
Brazil
or
ones.
Brazilian
right?
devices in house. They may not have
True.
the Chinese assembled devices.
But I
You may
think this
be-
all I think this all comes down to worker discipline.
Yes.
Most factory workers simply don't emulate the work ethic you see in China right now.
No.
So I just think initially quality could suffer a little bit.
Well, I think you're right, and that is definitely cultural. All right. It's procedural, it's cultural, and it has a
Well,
little
we
bit to
tried we
do.
tried building Apple computers in Texas, and that didn't go so well, did it?
No, it did
Not good
not
at
Oh, it
all.
didn't
because
it didn't last beyond a generation of the trash can Mac 4.
No, and as I mentioned in that email, we were sort of talking about this. Tim Cook was asked in an interview about what 5 years ago, how much would it cost to build an iPhone in that year in the United States? And he said, well over $3,000 or $4,000.
yeah,
Do you want to pay that much for your iPhone?
no,
I don't. I don't.
no. So this one's going to be really, really rough.
It's
It's
going to be a
really,
tough
really
one.
rough. And
But anyway,
because Apple's got that whole focus in on quality. And speaking of the
yeah.
focus in on quality, all right, Apple recently pulled iPad OS, all right, for for iPad Pro users due to brick devices. I mean, interestingly enough, though, neither you nor Chris G, who both own an M4 iPad Pro, haven't had that problem. Is that correct?
That is correct. And also interestingly, I'm at the, excuse me, the low end of the spectrum with a base model.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris has got one that's maxed out with storage. So
All
they're
the
a little
bells
different.
and whistles, yeah.
Yeah, but however, the update is turned in supposedly to a nightmare with some people. But I just like you guys, I haven't seen a lot of it in the news, but it's there. It's just not front and
Right.
center. So I did a little digging. It turns out the best I can determine, nobody knows, but this is probably only a case of hundreds, maybe a lot of hundreds or a couple
Sure.
thousand, but it's not like half the iPads out there. It's just a
Right.
few. And then I noticed a couple of comments. Two people on Reddit were talking about it, and they both agreed their iPad bricked. It wouldn't turn on at all for a whole day. They just sat there and looked at it, went over and tried it the next day, and it worked. And they haven't
Right.
had a problem since.
Right.
So I don't know what could cause that, but Apple says they will deal with it. They're aware of the issue. And I think that's all we can ask Apple to do. I don't know. Knock on wood, neither Chris or I have had the problem, though.
True. But if it is being experienced by hundreds, it's something
Even
that
that's too many. Yeah.
well, it is too many, but let me just say it's not a common problem, but yet it's not an uncommon problem. It might or it might not happen to you, and that's why Apple pulled
Well, yeah, if you look at it from
the
your
OS.
QA perspective, hundreds out of the millions that they
It's
manufactured,
nothing. It's
hundreds
nothing.
out of 10,000 would be a lot.
Hundreds out of 10,000 would be something that I would seriously be looking at. There's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
serious problem, but hundreds out of millions, a million or more, no.
I'm just lucky, I guess, on that
Well,
one.
you and Chris both dodged a bullet, right?
Yep.
The interesting thing there though is that there's enough there that's allowing or telling Apple that they need to do something, right? There's enough there that's telling Apple that they've got to do something, and they did it. They pulled it. They're fixing it. It'll be out if you haven't gotten it already. And
Well, interestingly enough, though,
gonna be
I
fine.
loaded it on my machine and it's still there. They didn't pull it off. I mean,
Well, no, they can't pull it off. If you've
Can't
already
pull it off.
downloaded it and installed it, you bought
You
the
got
prize.
it,
It's
right.
yours to keep. All
Right.
right. The issue is though, if you haven't upgraded already, you're on
You
your
can't. You can't.
you're not going to
right.
be able to until they fix the issue and repost the update. All right. This will probably be an iPad
18.01 or something.
18.001 or something. Well, they'll figure out something, but in a numbering system for this too as well. But it's going to be a real quick patch that's going to get out there that they'll
Right.
throw out to everybody. So anyway,
we'll see.
yeah. And speaking of things Apple and things that are going the way of the dodo, if you will, your Apple ID is now no longer your Apple ID. It's your Apple account.
Just look at your phone. It'll tell
Look
you
at your
that.
phone. It's changed. All right. When you go into settings on your iPhone and you look at the first thing, it doesn't tell you about your Apple ID anymore. It tells you about your Apple account. All right. So your Apple ID is now called, the whole thing is now called your Apple account. All right. Now, and there are ways to get into this. And I'm not going to go through a whole how-to on this, but they're focusing more on the account as opposed to an ID. When you created an ID, you created an account at Apple, and now they are addressing holistically the account as opposed to just the
I think it was
username and the
about time
password.
they did this, personally.
Sure, sure. I mean, it was your Apple ID, from 19 what, 99-ish, 98-ish, 99-ish until now. All right.
Yeah.
So more than 20 years, right? So now they're moving to an account-based system where all of your um personal information, your sign in and security information, your payment and shipping information, and where they keep track of all of your subscriptions, right, that you've purchased through your Apple account, either in uh, music or in TV or TV Plus, etc. They're going to keep it all in there, including access to all of your purchases. Just sign in with Apple, find my Apple family, and all of your iCloud settings. It's all there. All of the devices that are associated to your account will also be found there. All right. So, and you can still get to them by on your iPhone or on your iPad by going into settings and then clicking on your name or tapping on your name and working with the options there. If you're going to do it on your Mac, it's kind of sort of the same thing. You bring up settings and you click on your name with your avatar or account photo, and you get access to the same things. It basically looks almost exactly the same.
Yep.
All right. So they've centralized it all. They've got all the things that are account associated.
It
All
really
right.
hasn't changed a bit. I mean,
It really
I looked
hasn't. They're
at it.
just changing it a little bit
Name only.
differently, right? Under Sonoma, I believe it's still called Apple ID, but under Sequoia and forward with iOS 18, that same generation, they're calling it now Apple Account.
True.
So there you go. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna move us from our Apple segment then and into our mobile Linux segment, and we're gonna hit on a couple of things. But Joel, I just want to go ahead and I want to tease and torment our listeners just a little bit. You are in fact working on write-ups for two very important and big purchases on your end.
Yes.
Your Garmin watch
Yep.
and your Google Pixel 9 Pro Max, right? Or XL, right?
Correct.
All right. Would you care to tantalize at all, or do you want to save it for the write-ups?
I want to save it for the write-ups because
Oh,
I don't know when it's gonna be done.
you
I
stinker.
hope to get it done this week, but
Okay.
yeah, I can't promise anything. So,
All
but
right.
I'm gonna try my darndest to
All
let
right.
y'all know what I think about it.
All right. Well, what you think about
This,
them, right? Both of
yes,
those things, because we're putting write-ups on the site about both devices, both of
Yeah,
which
I'm interested in this as well. I
I'm
tell you
really
what, the
interested to see
9
what about the
Pro
watch.
especially
looks like a great
it,
phone.
it
It
is
looks great.
fantastic thus far.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing something
yeah.
about the watch because I know it'll work on both platforms, iOS
Yep.
as well as Android, right?
Yep.
And I know that
as
Yeah.
of recently, I've got more that I've been doing with it. That's not
excellent.
going on a trail, like working out in a treadmill, which is pretty much all I did this week.
Excellent.
So I'll have my feedback on how that works and how I'm earning badges in the app and all that stuff because they have that kind of cool stuff for gamifying your physical fitness, which is a good thing.
Yep.
So
which is really where a lot of the drive for some folks needs to be. I need to be able to challenge myself and then accomplish something and then challenge myself again and accomplish something else. I get you. But this week, the one story that I thought was really kind of cool that I wanted to at least touch on, Google is working on RCS encryption between Android and iPhone devices.
it
or
makes
iOS or
sense.
iPad
Yeah,
OS.
because as of iOS version 18, Apple does support RCS.
Yes, they do.
So and it worked well. I did some testing with my work iPhone, sending some messages over to my Pixel 9 Pro XL. Been working, that works great. But now they're also adding where they're gonna work together for end-to-end encryption between Android and iPhone. So basically what may mean RCS then will be, I would say probably for the most part at parity with iMessage. I don't know what whether it's gonna mean bubble colors changes or what.
And I don't even care about the
I don't
color.
think that I don't think they're changing
I don't.
or even adding a color. All right. It's either you're either gonna be a blue bubble or a green bubble, and green bubble's gonna
or
encompass
not
RCS
secure
encryption.
bubble. Right.
You know what was cool? What was cool about that? I thought Google stepped up and did the right thing. They really complimented Apple in how they have grasped this thing and embraced it, if you will. And I don't, Google doesn't say a whole lot complimentary toward Apple and vice versa, but the two of them seem to work a lot better together the last year than the other third partner out in Redmond works with either of them.
Anybody.
Google and Apple are leading the charge on home, all home smart kits.
And this thing will just make everything much better, much more secure for all of us. If you even care about that, I will say this though, no matter what you do, don't send anything via either via an SMS or RCS that you care about.
In other words, don't send. I don't do this.
Don't send your passwords out.
No.
I don't do this in messages or iMessage either.
Right.
Don't send your social security number. Don't send the last 4 of your
passwords.
Don't send passwords. Don't send
just because
banking
it's encrypted,
information,
don't mean
credit
you
card
be
information. None of it.
Yeah.
Don't put it in. Don't put it.
No,
there.
but it's going to be nice that people can react to messages with emojis and all that stuff. It's just going to be good.
Right. So the statement from Google. All right. So we are citing a article from 9 to 5 Google, and the statement from Google says effectively, we're proud to have offered end-to-end encryption (ETEE) in Google Messages with RCS since 2020. We believe that E2EE is a critical component of secure messaging, and we have been working with the broader ecosystem to bring cross-platform end-to-end encryption to RCS chats as soon as possible. Google is committed to providing a secure and private messaging experience for users, and we remain dedicated to making end-to-end encryption standard for all RCS users, regardless of the platform.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is.
I'm happy to see it.
Yep. And now, at least with RCS on iOS, everybody can have the same level of encryption, and
eventually,
once it fully comes, to everybody in iOS 18 and the 18.x variants, you're not going to have to worry about whether you're a blue bubble or a green bubble.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
I almost wish they had a whole different new name for it. But all it matters is if I want to chat with Joel or you on 2 different phones, we should be able to talk.
We should. We should. I will say that I have been having issues sending messages through iMessage on my phone. All right. With Android devices. For whatever reason, they don't want to go. And
Huh.
I don't understand why. All right. I don't have that with other recipients that are on the messages that are an iPhone or a blue bubble. It's just green bubbles that I'm having problems with right now, and it's from directly from an iPhone 15 Pro Max running iOS either either 17.5 or 17.6 or whatever the last version was before 18 came out. I know there was a 17.7 or something that you had a choice of. You could either upgrade to that version of 17 or upgrade to 18. I just went to 18. And I'm still having problems communicating
Huh.
with Android folks, but I,
Interesting.
I don't know what it
I have
is.
none.
I
Me
don't know
either.
what it is.
Me either. I even
I'm assuming
saw.
it's me. I'm assuming it's me.
Yep.
And
But
crap,
Chris,
I've got installed.
I don't know if you remember, but back, I'm going to say at least 10 years ago,
Mhm.
whenever I tried to text somebody with an Android phone,
Mhm.
half the time or more, I would get, Joel didn't receive your message. Billy Joe Bob didn't receive your message. And
Right.
at least we've overcome all those early problems.
Right. Right.
Yep.
So the message interoperability is a lot better than it used to be.
And I think it'll get even better.
And I think that the EU should be happy with what they have. But I digress.
But I did some testing. Like I said, with RCS, I did some testing between my work phone and my personal phone. I even saw when I was typing on the other phone.
Right, the
Well, there you
little
go.
three dot, the ellipses come up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The dots
So I
come
mean,
up.
they
Yeah.
and they worked wonderfully. So I don't know what you're doing wrong, but
Yeah, right.
I don't know
Yeah.
either. I don't know either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to initiate a conversation with an Android user, and I'll type, and it'll stop, and it waits and it waits and it waits and it waits and it waits, and it's only got about that much left on the send, and then I get a nice little red exclamation point with a circle that says the message failed, message delivery failed. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move us to our Windows segment, but we're gonna do that right after this brief message. 100 episodes. The iTechGear Weekly has more than 100 episodes. We've been doing this, oh my goodness, for almost 4 years. And to be very honest, the iTechGear Weekly needs your help. We need your subscriptions. We need your donations. Anything at any time would be very much appreciated. We need your help. I will tell you that I am about $3,000 a year in on site maintenance as well as show maintenance. And while we're not really going to stop, we really do need your help. Any kind of donation that you can go ahead and provide to us, either through a Patreon subscription or directly to the site via my personal PayPal, Chris at iTechGear.org, would be greatly appreciated. You can subscribe to a monthly newsletter for just a small amount every month at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. If you do that, you get a summary of all of the shows. You get a summary of all of the articles that we post with direct links to everything that happens on the site. Boy, we've had a great time over the last 3 years and change, providing everyone with the steps and procedures needed to make technology all that much easier to understand and use. Boy, again, we could use your help in making it easier to provide those wonderful things that we do, that voodoo that we do so well, to you on a daily and weekly basis. So please, if you have the time, smash that subscribe button on the podcast. If you have the time and you have the inkling, go to our Patreon site, www.patreon.com/iTechGear. Subscribe to our newsletter. Provide us with a small donation, one time, monthly, doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and continue to provide you with that knowledge and insight that all four of us have every week. I want to say thank you to you, even if you don't donate, even if you don't subscribe. I still want to thank you for the opportunity to come to you every week, because we sure do have a great time doing the show. So from all of us here at the iTechGear Weekly and from iTechGear.org, we thank you, we love you, and we'll see you soon. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 107. If it's a procedure that works, follow it consistently. I'm going to go ahead and take us into our Windows segment. I saw this next article, and honestly, I went, I was wondering when somebody might be trying to think about or talk about or make a bid for, right, this particular company. But apparently Qualcomm wants to acquire Intel as PCs switch to ARM. Larry, what's going on with this? And this was interesting. This was on a 9to5 Mac article.
Yeah, well, I mean, from someone who does follow the stock market and regulatory things a little bit, I'm not an expert, even if I did sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but
Right.
still, the bottom line before we even talk about this is it'll never happen until it gets regulatory approval. And I agree with the ending statement in this article, which I'm going to put out first. There's a very slim chance this will ever happen.
Oh, I totally agree.
But in a surprising move, Qualcomm has been making noise about wanting to do a takeover of Intel. And I see why they want to do that. It's a good move on their part. Unfortunately, it's just far from certain, like I just mentioned. But Intel is currently valued at 87 billion with a B dollars. Problem they have, they've been facing a major money crisis in the recent 4 years. And every year they lose between 30 or 60% since 2020. And that all started, of course, when they lost Apple's business. That's a lot of chips been turned into Apple Silicon there.
And when we all knew this was huge, I mean,
absolutely,
we knew this was a huge deal with Apple going to their own silicon.
But I don't think that's the whole story. The whole story is Intel has been not making the PC industry very happy with the quality of their Intel chips. And the Qualcomm chips are coming out better and better every year. I wish Chris was here. He would jump right in and agree with that.
Yeah.
In 2020, when you consider the biggest problems Intel has is one of power consumption.
That's absolutely
the biggest one. That's the biggest one, and that's why they're not
and heat, right?
Yeah, heat.
They've been
it's
having
a
huge issue getting past the 5 nanometer threshold. That they've been having trouble getting to 3.
They moved to the Evo platform, trying to squelch some of that, and then it still happened. So now they've moved to the Evo Ultra. They just keep changing names on the same old crap and thinking it'll work, but it's not.
No, they are having some very serious issues with process. They are having some very serious issues with cash. I mean, you cannot lose 60% of your value in a year. 60%.
Let alone losing almost that every year.
When you're valued at near $174 billion, all right, and then you lose, or $180 billion or $190 billion, and you lose 60% of your value in a year.
Yeah.
I mean, your shareholders are only going to put up with so much before they look at you and they say, take the
My money,
offer,
I'm taking
take
it
the
out.
offer, take the
Yeah.
offer, or there's going to be a massive sell-off and
And
you're
you'll have
going to
nothing.
lose your shirt.
Yeah,
But we're going to get our
absolutely.
money back, right?
And considering how the construction on the Ohio plant's going, I not well. They're way
Really?
behind. They're really behind on it. They're not looking at chips being delivered until sometime probably 2028 at this point.
See, and there's only so long that a town or a state is going to wait on jobs. There's only before they look at somebody else and say, we're going with the other guy,
Yep.
right? Or they just look at you and say, you know what? You finish it by this year, or you're not going to get
Or
the
deals
tax
off,
benefits.
right? Deals
Right.
off.
All right. Or the deal's off, right?
Well, I mean, literally, we've talked about this a couple of years ago. It's
Well,
just
yeah.
it's almost inevitable. Their demise, that is.
Their denials, yeah.
No, their demise.
Their demise. Yes, yes, yes.
Self-destruction.
They're not going to be. Honestly, I don't see them in the next year or two. I do not see them being the player that they
No, they will
have
first
traditionally
become
been
irrelevant
since the
and then they'll
90s.
become extinct. That's the way
Yes.
it works.
Yes. All right. When your tier 3 competitor and or even AMD or somebody that you were overshadowing by far back in the 90s and the early 2000s is doing a better job than you are. All right. You know that your time on this earth is in serious jeopardy.
Yep.
I think in 5 or 6 years, I think the only thing you will read about Intel is what's written in Wikipedia.
I was just going to say what you see or
Maybe.
hear in the history books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And nobody cares that Intel's inside anymore. Nobody cares.
Nope.
All
They
right.
just want a product that works, battery lasts a long time, doesn't get hot, and it's affordable.
Yep. And
So far, they're failing in all of those areas.
Yep. Yep. And when Windows products can come out, when Windows computers and PCs can come out on a platform that will last longer in terms of battery life.
And I did not realize how much less expensive the Qualcomm high-end chip is
Compared,
as opposed
yeah.
to the Intel high-end i7. Way less money.
Oh, it's amazing.
Insane.
It's also it's completely unreal.
Yeah, Chris was saying today when I was chatting with him for a little bit. He said he's having a ball playing, a couple of games. It's working great. It's he didn't bring anything but an ARM with him.
Yeah.
On the trip. It's working great.
Yep.
Absolutely fabulous. And honestly, it's like I said, the writing is on the wall. It's almost in flashing neon at this point. They either need to go ahead and do something to get past the manufacturing and engineering issues that they've got, or they need to get out. Because if they don't,
the reason I mention games, not because I'm a gamer, far from it, but
right.
If a gamer is happy with the quality of his machine and it's built on an ARM, you can bet your sweet bippy that it'll run everything below the gaming.
Oh,
it'll
absolutely.
do everything else that it's supposed to do.
Absolutely. Yep. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yep. And
no doubt in my mind.
I would say we're not there completely yet, but it's getting better every year. And
yep.
The ones who really, I think the ones who really have to worry about that once Intel does go out to pasture is folks like NVIDIA. Who's going to make a graphics? Are they going to make an ARM graphics accelerator?
TSMC is making all their chips right now,
and honestly,
Intel tried to get into the NVIDIA and game, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't crank
No, they could not do it. No, they could not do it. And
that was just last year. They tried to buy Tower Semiconductor.
Yeah,
they couldn't do it.
Honestly, I actually see NVIDIA and was it AMD or who is it that makes the other big graphics adapter?
AMD.
AMD. All right.
AMD and NVIDIA.
All right. I actually have a feeling that I would not be surprised that you start seeing those components start working with ARM PCs, ARM CPUs, all right, in the next year or two. All right. I
Well,
would
in the
not be
last 5
surprised.
years, NVIDIA has quietly become one hell of a force to
Oh,
reckon with.
absolutely.
I mean, it's a big company. I mean,
Well,
Absolutely.
NVIDIA is the only game in town when it comes to GPUs on Intel platform.
Yep.
For
yep,
3D
there you
games.
go.
You know,
Yep.
yeah,
But they run, the whole schmear runs to
But they don't
ARM.
make a lot of noise. They sit back in the corner, make a good product, rake in the money, and that's it. We're all happy.
Yep.
Right. They're
They
going to have
charge
problems
$500
though.
for a top end graphics
Well,
card.
they're going to have problems though,
But
because
isn't it worth it?
Yeah, well,
If you're a
that
gamer, if
depends.
you're a gamer,
Is it worth it that you're gonna go ahead and warp the plastic coating on your on your desk, or singe the carpeting on the floor, or
yeah, right.
burn your lap? I don't know. You tell me. As the water drips off the plaster from the ceiling.
yep,
All right.
right.
All right,
I mean,
because you had to, because your house caught fire and you had to put
Mhm.
you had to call the fire department, and they water all over everything. I mean, you tell me. This is a problem. Intel has got to crack this nut, and it's got to crack it within the next 2 to 3 years, or they're done. All right, or they're done. All right.
When you consider an MSI GeForce RTX 4090 gaming card is
Mhm.
$1,800.
Which is almost as much as some PCs, or
Yeah.
more, or
Yeah, and
All
that
right.
4090, that's top end. I mean, that's yeah, and actually there is one that's higher price. There's one that's 1899. That's by oh, it's also by MSI.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it in see that one's also happens to be, I think that one's also look. I mean, anybody who's building PCs now, which is
Mm-hmm.
not me, I haven't built a PC in years. They're doing liquid cooling on all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
there's not one ARM product, there's not one Apple product that has liquid cooling.
Because they don't need it.
don't need it.
Exactly,
They
and it's the
don't
same thing for,
need
and
it.
it's
Why do
getting to
you
be
need?
that.
Explain
Right?
to me why I need to put a radiator inside my computer.
Yeah,
Why?
Right,
yeah.
right.
Seriously.
I would offer one more thing, one more bit of prognosticating advice here or suggestion. I really, if you have a company that's
Mm-hmm.
not doing well, I mean, I've worked for a couple of companies. I've co-owned one for a lot of years. What's the first thing a company does when they're in a position like Intel? You go off in the corner and you huddle at the top level and you say, what are we doing wrong? What can we do better? And it's the second part of that Intel can't do because there's nothing they can do better. I think they're at the end of their Intel rope, personally. That's just me.
They need to make fundamental architecture changes in order to do what they need to do, and I'm not
But
convinced
to
that they
do
can
that
do
will
it.
cost them major bucks. They're going to have to quit taking $1 million bonuses, and they're not willing to do that.
And the sad part of this all
Mhm.
was, at one point, Intel was making ARM hardware. Anybody
Yep, they
remember
started
X
out.
Scale?
Yep, they were.
Yeah,
Yes, they were. And it wasn't selling at the time. And everybody laughed at it. It's never going to go anywhere. Guess what,
But that's just
kids?
the changing times there.
did.
Guess what, kids?
Yep. Guess what?
Yeah. So I'm going to
Oh
move us.
well,
I'm
we
going to,
wish them
yeah,
luck. We wish
yeah.
them luck.
I'm gonna move us forward, and just this one, it's kind of this next one
Funny,
kind of made me
really.
Yeah,
it kind of made me chuckle.
Yeah,
Microsoft
me
says that
too.
ChatGPT isn't better than Copilot. You're using it wrong.
Yeah, right.
I flashed back to Steve Jobs. You're holding it wrong. You
right.
know? Um what do you mean I'm holding it wrong? I'm using it wrong. How the heck can I use AI wrong? How can I type a query?
You talk to it, you query it, and it responds. That's it.
Right. You know, but apparently Microsoft has expanded the Copilot Academy. All right. with paid Viva Learning or Viva Suite licensing. And they're including this in Microsoft 365 Copilot license. So if you've got Microsoft 365 and you've paid for use of Copilot, you'll get that. There's been a separate report that's been released that indicates that the top complaint at Microsoft about their Copilot AI was that it doesn't seem to work as well as Chat GPT.
I agree with them.
So do I. I mean,
Yep.
that's almost a duh sort of
Yep.
kind of statement, you know? It's really?
ChatGPT is my go-to, but I have been talking to Gemini recently, and I tell you
Mhm.
what, it's a good product.
It's really good. I've been using it a lot more since I got my Pixel 9 Pro, and I'm rather impressed.
Either one of them by far beat Copilot.
Oh,
By far.
absolutely. Not only that,
Just ask them the same
honestly,
questions and you'll find out.
well,
It's
you know,
simple.
let's step into the Wayback Machine with me, will you,
Right.
Sherman? I mean, just one more time. Come on, get in the box. All right. If you remember, go back to 1997, right? At the very, very beginnings of some of all of this stupid crap, right? Was that whole Microsoft Assistant. What was he called back then?
Oh,
Clippy.
Clippy.
Clippy,
Clip it.
right?
Yeah.
Clippy was the most annoying and irritating thing. All right.
Yeah.
People didn't like him. People people did their best to get rid of him and not have it start. It seems like you're trying to do this. Would you like to see, are you interested in any
Here, I
of
thought
these
you were talking about
articles?
Cortana, but
No. Well, you have to understand Clippy didn't turn into Cortana. All right. Cortana was their answer to Siri. All right. And Cortana has sort of morphed into Copilot. All right. They pulled Cortana out of it.
That was a poor morph.
Right.
It was. All right. But if you think about it, if you really, really think about it, I'm kind of right. They pulled Cortana out of Windows. All right. Because the digital assistant that was Cortana wasn't providing anything. I mean, it was worse than Siri, which is saying something. All right. And they finally found, at the same time that everybody else found generative AI, all right, in the large language model, they came out with Copilot, or they rebranded their version of it all as Copilot. And honestly, it's just as annoying.
Right.
You know
And
what?
is just as much in your face as Clippy was. If they don't take a different tack, people aren't going to use it.
You know what Microsoft does so wrong? The monikers they come up with. Think about it. Clippy, Cortana, and Copilot. Can you think of any more stupid names for the
Who's
three
got
things
a thing?
they are?
Today's version of Windows is brought to you by the letter C.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How many different versions of Clippy, Cortana, Copilot, can you come up with? All right, before somebody tells you to move on, Forrest. All right, come on, get out of the way, move on. All right, it ain't working. This
I guess
article's
what
hilarious
really
though.
what really bothers me is that Microsoft has the gall to tell me I'm using their AI tools wrong.
Yeah, we aren't
there's no wrong way to use it.
There shouldn't be. There is no right way or wrong way to hold the phone, as we told Steve Jobs. You look here. Let me.
Yeah, if I'm talking into the,
shove it up your
earpiece,
Steve.
that's one thing. But
let me properly show you where to stick it and how to put it there.
Yeah.
All right, but it's the same freaking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right. You cannot tell me that I'm using it wrong because it's the way that I want to use it. I'm the user. It's my computer. Yes, it's your freaking operating system and it's licensed, but please don't tell me that I'm using it wrong because I'm not.
Nope.
All right. This is the way that I want to use it. Please make the tool fit my desired use case, or I'll use something else. All right. I'll use ChatGPT, or I'll use something else, some other AI that I can find that's out there. Maybe it's Google's. that will work with Windows. Maybe Google will make Gemini work with Windows. You don't know that they won't. They could. And I can give them $20 a month for that. If they had to ever decide to do something like that, right? Which, by the way, hint, hint, Google, wouldn't be a bad idea at all. All right. Make me a version of Gemini for Windows. All right. Stick it in a Chrome install and then make it system wide, or give me a separate download. All right. But if Gemini is as good as Joel has been saying and as good as you've been saying, Larry, I mean, that's a heck of a lot better than Copilot. Let me turn Copilot off.
Oh, Copilot will not, when you do a type of example like Joel gave us last week about our own podcast.
Right.
If you do that with Copilot, it barely knows we exist. That's it.
Yep.
Right. But Google does know.
Oh my God. Google knows all of our names. She knows everything. I mean, the order you introduce us, it knows everything.
Absolutely. And it really kind of, I find it amazing. All right. Because we're not the biggest thing in the world. I don't think that we're going to be the biggest thing in the world. I would love for it to happen.
Don't you insult our 3 listeners now.
Thank you. My mom, my sister, and who?
Well, my cousin used to listen, but he quit.
Right. That's right. We had 4. We had 4, but now we're down to 3.
Right.
Anyway,
God.
but the long and the short of it, I mean, please look, I understand that this is kind of weird for me saying this way, but I don't care. Make your AI work the way that I want it to work. That way it's easier for me to adopt, and it's easier for other people to adopt. All right. Make it so that it does things the way that I want to do things.
If Chris was here, I think he would say, if AI is a big part of your use case, you need to pick the AI tool that works best for you. This will make people in the end change operating systems and ecosystems.
Oh,
yes.
Like that. Just
if they find that Gemini is the ultimate of all the AI gizmos, guess who's going to go to Google?
Yep.
Well, and guess which platforms work on every platform known to man, and it ain't Microsoft.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
No. Gemini does a great job. I'm very happy with it.
It does. But please don't.
It'd be nice to have it inherent in my devices more.
I don't
like
need a
Pixel
stupid
9,
Copilot key on my laptop to use Gemini or anything else.
No, you don't.
No, but I honestly, if you look at this, the whole Wintel platform, right? That whole Windows Intel platform it's starting to look a little long in the tooth, isn't it?
It is long in the tooth.
I mean, seriously, it's starting to look a little long in the tooth. And I'm not saying that, Linux is going to be the answer. I'm not saying that Mac OS is going to be the answer. It could be that the answer hasn't been created yet. It doesn't exist yet. It could be that it doesn't exist yet. But honestly, with what Microsoft is telling us and has been saying over, the last few weeks and months about Copilot, and now telling us that I'm using it wrong. All right. And Intel, not able to get past their issues and problems in heat and battery life, all right, as well as engine and having other engineering related issues. I would think that the platform and operating systems that we've been used to over the last 30 to 40 years are coming to an end.
Well, on this podcast, we employ equal opportunity bashing and dissing.
Absolutely.
We do. We really do. But I tell you, and we're doing it a lot these past few episodes with Microsoft, because Microsoft is doing what they're doing. They're just being dumb. I mean,
well, not only that, they are in fact the company that creates the platform that currently runs the world.
And the fact remains they are so big that they probably can't screw up so bad that they will destruct. Never, ever. But
No,
they're
I
hurting them.
disagree.
They're
I
hurting
disagree
themselves.
with that. I disagree with it.
They're hurting themselves.
Just like Intel is
Uh,
having issues and problems.
there's
If
a
they don't
lot of
get it
market
together,
cap to
if
just go away there. I
at
don't
the end
know.
of the end of the day, at the end of the day, a lot of servers are running on Red Hat Enterprise Linux or some other flavor of Linux. And
Yep.
honestly, it's really just what works on the desktop. What's
Well,
going to work best on
here's
the
a stat
desktop?
for you. Right as we speak, 87% of the world's corporate websites are run on Red Hat, on Linux, excuse me. Maybe
On
not Red
Linux.
Hat, but
Yeah,
probably. But Linux.
on
Right.
Linux because the web
Not
server
Apple,
doesn't
not
suck.
Microsoft.
IIS blows chunks.
That's
All
right.
right.
Well, when you consider even if you're looking at cloud hosting, your cheaper option is always Linux. It doesn't
Oh,
matter whether
equipment. Oh,
you're
Whether
yeah.
it's Red Hat,
AWS.
which is a paid version, or whether it's some other free version that
Yep,
you're running.
lots of them out there. I mean, that's the thing, you know. In
Lots of different distros.
you got Oracle Linux, you got
Debian based. You've
Debian
got
based ones, Ubuntu, you got
mhm,
Arch, which is starting to really start. I mean, most of the folks that I know of in the Linux community aren't even running Debian or Ubuntu anymore.
right,
They're running Arch. There's so
Really?
many people that are running Arch or a variant of Arch. Manjaro is an easier to install version of Arch that has all the functions that an Arch Linux installation has. You
right,
know, and that's that. I'm using Manjaro right now on
right.
my another laptop here. Not
But
tonight.
but think back to the early days when Red Hat first launched. Were we having this conversation then? No.
No,
No, we weren't. It
One.
wouldn't even have been. It would. I mean, if we were delirious,
Yeah.
we'd be having that conversation. You know,
But
15,
it
20
goes to
years
show
ago.
you that the big guys, I guess, can fail.
They can.
no.
They can. And interestingly enough, you know, Copilot Wave 2
Oh,
is now
yeah.
here,
Tell
right?
me about it. Come on,
Meh,
All
tell me.
right.
Talk to me.
meh.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So let's see. Wave 2 is here, and
All
I
right. So
was
what?
did Wave 1 ever end?
Apparently it's more of a ripple now than a wave, but I mean,
Yeah. Since its launch, Copilot has proved a worthy check. Keep it worthy, please. Uh, Eventually, occasionally lapping open, whatever. Can't read the article. So if you sign into Copilot with your work or organization account, you likely notice a tab option to switch from work to web. The work tab is what Microsoft refers to as Biz Chat, a workflow within Copilot that can pull answers from your work data in Microsoft 365 applications. Does that sound a little dangerous to you? Oh,
so again, this is stuff. All right. So
right,
based on what I know, because I've been working in regulated industries most of my career, and it goes back
right.
over 30 years. And from what I know with the protection of PHI or personal health information or PII or which is personally identifying information, there are a number of different regulations in pharmaceuticals and healthcare, in fintech and
Education.
whatever else
Yeah.
that all govern the use and safekeeping of this data. Copilot, while it may seem that it is trying to employ AI in a number of different areas, it is either going to be years, and when I say years, I mean a minimum of 5 to 7 before this kind of a feature is going to, or these kinds of features are going to be readily used in a regulated industry, because they're going to have to be confirmed safe and efficacious from an industry standpoint. Then you, as an actual regulated company, are going to have to prove and validate, all right, which is effectively a long, you know, multi-year or at least 18 to 24-month procedure and process that says we've tested it here, there, and everywhere with all of this other kind of sensitive information, and it does exactly what it says that it's supposed to do, and it protects the information, and it's not available outside of the organization. It's not readily accessible by anybody that is not authorized to use it. And there are tools and there are processes and methods and protocols, et cetera, that keep it all safe. And you have to be able to emphatically prove it. All right. With test information and data and review of that and records that show that it's been tested, those test results have been reviewed and that they have been accepted by the organization as fulfilling the intent and purpose of the software, et cetera. All right.
Yep.
That is at least that validation process is anywhere between 18 to 24 months, so a year and a half to a year. And that's after the stuff has been proven by the industry to be safe and efficacious.
Yep.
All right. So there's a dual sort of thing. So it's going to be at least 5 to 7 years before this stuff gets in anywhere. All right. So, and I've been asked to speak at a quality-based conference for related to AI testing here in Chicago, being held on October 24th. Currently got my synopsis in with the company, and I'm looking for feedback and direction on how and where and why they're, is it going to work or not work for them? But the long and the short of it is, it takes a while, kids. It's not something that you're just going to be able to drop on a dime inside of a regulated company. It doesn't work that way. In a non-regulated company, hey, have fun. Go and do those things and bump into those problems, because I can't. I'm not going to be able to. I have to be.
One thing regulated companies do not do is take unnecessary risks. Period.
Never. So things that Copilot is doing, I won't be able to do in a regulated company for at least another 5 to 7 years. All right. And by that time,
I get that. I do.
Yep.
By that time, everybody else has bumped into the problems, has already solved, has already proved the solutions to the problems and solved those questions and issues and gnashings of teeth and wailings. And I just pick up your solutions and implement them with the tools. All right. But that's the way that we do things in a regulated industry. All right. So I'm not going to be able to use any of this stuff for a long time. All right.
Yep.
So wave 2, big deal. I don't care. I really don't. Because by the time I get to use it at work,
wave 7.
Yeah.
It's going to be completely different. It'll be completely different. And honestly, with the way that this thing, the way that they've currently got it constructed, and the way that again, Microsoft's version has always been Clippy, has always been in your face. It's one of the reasons why he is so reviled, even still, 10 to 15 years after they finally shot him, took him out behind the barn and put him out of our misery, right? There's a reason why he's still reviled, because he was so in your face, and they're setting up Copilot to do the exact same thing, the exact same way that Clippy did.
And now
I swear to God, if they bring that damn SOB back and they show his face again,
every time I see his likeness icon, I just want to scream. Every time, every now and then I run across it. That's just,
but I like the Bill the Cat version. I like the Bill the Cat version. All right, he was blue, not orange, but I loved. I think his name was Elroy. All right, I love Elroy the cat. All right, you're gonna make me use Copilot that way. Don't give me Clippy, give me Elroy. All right, that's what I want. All right, because at least I can laugh at him then while he bangs his face into a frying pan. All right. Anyway, so Microsoft again is having other issues. Shall we go on? I think we should go on, right? Especially if you have a Mac. Especially if you have a Mac and Microsoft 365. There's a set of Mac apps that they've got a security hole that won't be fixed anytime soon.
I know, and I'm one of those people.
So am I.
Apps affected are Microsoft Excel, OneNote, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, and Word. You might as well just say Office.
Office.
All right. Microsoft runs an entitlement that disables macOS hardened runtime, which provides security against dynamically linked library hacks. This can allow a hacker to install malicious software into Microsoft's apps. The attacker could send emails from the user account without the user noticing, record audio clips, take pictures, or record videos without any user interaction, according to Cisco Talos.
And they
That's
say
the
that
security forum.
Microsoft considers these issues a
A
low risk.
risk. Yeah, I don't think so,
My ass,
Tim.
it can use my camera without me actually giving permission or me even seeing that the camera's even on.
Yep.
Thank you, no. I mean, honest to God. I mean,
There's
you
a
know,
reason laptops at one point were there were a lot of laptops that had a physical shutter that goes over the camera.
over the camera lens in and of itself. And there's
Yep.
a reason why. All right. I used to care, and here it is. Here it is still.
Yep.
You see this? This is a piece of Scotch tape that's got black.
Yep.
Sharpie black over it, and I used to stick that over the camera lens on one of my Macs or whatever that didn't have a cover or a shutter on it, so that you couldn't get to. All you saw was blurry, blacky, whatever it was.
Yep.
All right. There's a reason why that I did that stuff. We call that a poor man's shutter. I don't trust that all that stuff. There you go. You know.
It won't show up. I'm trying to. No, it won't show up.
You know. Anyway, the long and the short of it is there's a reason why people do stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy. There's a reason why people stick a piece of a Post-it note over the camera, or they have that shutter over covering the lens when they're not using it. It's because
And they're very emphatic about it. I go on calls here, and people will have duct tape. I mean, literally, they 3 layers of it. Hopefully, I mean, I guess they just, I don't know. I can't figure out what they do it.
They're wanting to make certain that no, you know,
Privacy.
That those things that they want to keep private are private.
Private.
All right. We are very security conscious. All right. I got a note just before coming down here to do the show tonight that my Verizon account had the email address changed on it. All right. So I went into the Verizon account. All right. Not only did I change the password from one secure password to an even longer, more secure password. All right. But I also verified that the email address had not been changed. All right. Because it effectively said, hey, you know, not my name, right? Not my name for my account. Your email, this is a note that says, you know, you've changed your email address on your account. If you didn't do this, call this number or click this link. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. I'm going to their website myself, because God knows if this is a phishing attack or not. Right?
You don't know.
You never know. So I went ahead and I went to Verizon myself, and I've got 2FA on it. So I went ahead and I let myself in with my phone, and I verified that the email address had not been changed, but I changed the password anyway. All right. Yep. From a 12 character password to like a 24 character password, doubled the length of the thing. All right. Numbers, symbols, letters, upper, lower case, whatever, in some sort of a random order. Thank you, 1Password. That allows me to go ahead and keep that safe and free from harm. And I'll probably change it again later on this week, right? Just to go ahead and add another layer of, you ain't got it again. So if you're trying to get it, no, you ain't. And I ain't got nothing that you want to steal anyway. You don't want my credit.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Among
much.
other things.
All right.
Yeah. So hopefully
you're going to want to send me money after you hack my credit. Okay.
Hopefully they start to fix this. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Honest to God, you know, this is just the most ridiculous thing. What, I mean, Microsoft again. All right. And this is the platform. These are the apps here, kids, that we do business with every single day in nearly every company, regardless of platform, by the way. All right. Because all Word won the word processing war. back in the 90s, right? And because it beat WordPerfect out and because it won the word processing wars, it won the Office Suite war, all right, that was going on in the background that nobody knew about.
Yeah, not so much today.
Not so much today. There's a whole bunch of different things that are out there, but even still, this is the one that most companies are using.
Oh, yeah.
And if
Yep.
Microsoft doesn't get its shit together, they're going to go to Open Office because it's all Word compatible. They're going to go to
They
Google,
go to
which is
Google
all
Workspace.
Word,
It's
which is all
1,000% compatible.
100%. Absolutely. All right. Why in the world would I have to stick with something that's full of security holes? All right. Get your shit together, Microsoft, because I'm tired of doing this with you every week.
Yep. Yep.
So, in speaking of great tips,
security and
speaking
tips.
of great tips, and speaking of things that you need to do, and my Verizon account almost being hacked, I'm moving us to our tip of the week segment. All right. And this week, I want to remind everybody that iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easy for everyone to use and understand. Even if you can't even spell IT, we want to help you make certain that you can use a computer at your house. So this team specifically has dedicated much of their careers, writing or not, to that specific purpose of making computing easy for everyone. And every week, we want to be able to provide you with a new computing tip authored by one of our experienced editors. And if you've got questions, concerns, comments, requests, suggestions, whatever, send them to tips@itechgear.org and we'll get it on here. Speaking of editors here that have written tips, Larry, this is one that you wrote a little while ago.
Oh,
We are bringing it back, all right, because it's so important. All right.
it's valid every week.
Every week, use strong passwords. All right. I want to
Yep.
make certain that everybody knows and understands, all right, that if you've got anything anywhere online and you haven't got a good password on that service, you need to stop what you're doing and change it right now. You need a strong password. What is a strong password? Strong password, it's a unique password for each of your accounts. Each of your accounts. Don't reuse the same password. All right. Is vital. It's vital for preventing unauthorized access and for protecting your personal information. Avoid using easily guessable passwords like the word password or 1234566, and instead use a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. All right. I mentioned 1Password earlier, which is a very reputable, very secure a password manager that creates a very secure 256 bit encrypted password vault on your computer and makes it available in the cloud so you can use it everywhere in any and every browser that's out there nowadays. All right. It will manage, store, generate, which is more important. It will help you generate a very long, and then keep track of that because you aren't going to remember it either. All right. And that's the whole idea. Let the utility keep it. Let the utility store it. Let the utility bring it up and automatically insert it into the password fields with a user ID and then that unique password that it's holding for you. All right. So that you can generate, store, and autofill complex passwords across your accounts. If you aren't doing this, stop what you're doing now. Go find one that you like. Go find
And the most important thing you can say about that password manager or any good one,
Yep.
The information never leaves your computer, period.
The company doesn't have any access to it.
That company doesn't have access to it.
1Password doesn't know what your master password is, or it doesn't know what your other passwords are for your banking, for your credit cards, for your government accounts.
Yeah,
like
the encryption,
the IRS or for
encryption,
TSA.
decryption happens on your machine, your device.
Right. So, which is important. They don't know the encryption. They don't have the password. If you lose your master password or forget it, you're screwed.
Mhm.
The idea behind this thing is you remember one and only one, and then it's got everything else. All right. So honestly, it's because I had a 12 character password that this person had trouble in the beginning, number one. And number two, it's also because I had another feature, which we can talk about next week, called two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Same thing.
And we're not
On the
pushing the
account.
name of a product here. The best password manager you can have is the one you're using, period.
Right. But use it consistently.
Yep.
Use it consistently and don't share that master password with anyone. All right. Anyway, so that's our tip of the week, and it's probably one of the most important ones that we will ever provide you. Make sure you use a strong password. This is something that is at least 12 characters long, uses upper and lowercase, uses characters like alpha characters, numeric characters, as well as special characters, all in the same password at the same time. All right. And then we'll talk about multi-factor and two-factor authentication next week. But I want to go ahead and move us now to our pick of the week segment.
I'm looking forward to this one. I think I'm going to order one for my bride. She is into those things.
So I'll tell you what I like. This thing that we're going to be talking about next here is
Yep.
something
Looks
that is
cool.
really,
Looks
really
good.
nice. So our pick of the week, and I want to take a moment before we get to it, because I know Brother Joel's sitting on the giddy up here and he's bouncing up and down. He's so excited about it. To let our listeners know, our show picks are really typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we individually have purchased and actually use, and with that we like enough. We want to share them with you. All right. These aren't paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. These are just sincerely things that we enjoy and we want to share with you. If they were those kinds of things that, like a paid advertisement or an affiliated marketing relationship, the editorial policy at iTechGear.org emphatically states that we have to let you know that up front before we display or tell you about the pick. These are just things that we sincerely believe in and we bring to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we
like
like
you.
you.
There
Yep.
you go, kids. Joel, you've got the pick this week. So what is it?
It's a non-tech thing, kind of, sort of.
Which
but
I think is really cool because
Those
this
are good
particular
things.
thing is awesome.
Yep. I kind of started the year buying. I think I talked about it earlier this year. Talked about Circle before.
What
And
is Circle? Joel?
Circle is a way that you can consume more water. And the way it works is you put a flavor cartridge in the top. It's got a little bit of a possible waste factor with this. So if you're,
Because it is plastic. It is plastic.
yes, the
right?
cartridge is plastic, but you have all sorts of different flavors, including coffee flavors, which, by the way, don't try them.
They're
good.
not that great.
No, but the rest of them are pretty dang good.
They are.
I
It's
bought
all 0-calorie stuff, though, right?
Correct.
I mean, any of these flavors, any
And
of
no
these things, they're
coloring
all 0-calorie
either.
stuff, right?
No colorings either. So
I
it'll
like
be
that factor. No
yeah,
color.
there's no coloring in the drinks at all. So a long while ago, I had bought the 22 ounce, upgraded to the 32 ounce one, and I use that one when I'm hiking. But then I saw this. This Circle has brought out a 40 ounce. They call it the 40 ounce all day straw sip double wall insulated stainless steel tumbler. Now, if y'all have seen this magical thing that the girls, especially the teenage ones, all go nuts for, called a Stanley, that's what this looks like. I mean, it looks exactly like a Stanley, except that it has a circle hole in top for your Circle flavor sip. And my favorite thing of this is it fits in a freaking cup holder in my car. All right. So
what's really kind of cool about
Yeah.
this, if I may jump in and add a harumph
Yep.
to what you're talking about. This is a 40-ounce tumbler with a handle on it. All right.
Yep.
It is tapered at the bottom so that it will fit in most car-based cup holders. All right.
Correct.
But it will allow you, the flavor is, it will allow you to put water, hot or cold water, into the tumbler. All right. And you can, at your leisure, add
Usually cold.
not to the water, but a different flavor cartridge, because the water runs through the flavor cartridge. It doesn't mix with the water.
Correct.
So if you get tired of the flavor that you've got, you can unscrew or pull out the flavor cartridge and put in a new one and still use the water, the untreated water, untainted water that's in the tumbler to start the new flavor packet.
How many of these little pod things are, how many ounces before they start tasting like nothing? Do they?
I basically will fill this thing about 3 times ish before it's completely done.
Well,
So,
the nice thing about it is it's got a
you can put how much ever flavoring you
quote
want
unquote
in it.
rheostat. It's got a way for you to control the intensity of the flavor, right?
Correct.
It's got a dial. All right.
Yep.
So the less flavor they use, the longer it lasts.
Right.
That's right.
Got it,
Right?
got it.
So you can have it full
And
out
this
at like
also-
a 10, and you'll be through that flavor packet in probably 3 sips. Or you could have it at like a 3 or a 4, which is enough to go ahead and flavor the water and last you most of the day.
Yep. And they are available now. I will say there is some variation on the price. I have the eucalyptus or light green color. I bought mine at the Walmart. So I only had a choice between the light green one or the white one. But it's also available now. You're going to pay a little bit more, but if you want a pink one, you can get one in a bright pink.
Which is
that's
$55. Which is
$55.
$55.
When I buy,
$55.
I got to spend $59 for it. Oh well,
Right.
I'll still get it.
Or they've
Well,
got
then
a
they got
carbon.
50. The black one's $53.99. Cherry Blossom, which is like a very light pink one, is $56.88. Light gray is $24.88. $59.93 is a light purple or lilac. That's must be the one Larry's going to order for his wife.
Well, she's a purple person. She loves
And
There you
then the
go.
midnight blue, which is $24.88.
24. It's a very nice midnight blue with a very nice silver lettering for circle. And
yes, and it's late. That's a laser etched logo because I have that on my green one. And this is also, I think, happens to be. I think it might be the only one they have that has double wall on it.
Right, but the
My
nice
other
thing
ones
about this
don't.
is it'll keep it cold. You got cold water,
Yes,
it will keep it cold, Bubba, and you will be able to drink.
absolutely.
You got hot water. I bet you in the wintertime you could put your hot coffee or your hot beverage or what in this thing.
The only thing
with your
is I don't.
circle on the top, and then be able to go ahead and have that nice warm beverage on the drive home 8 hours later.
Yeah, I don't know how well hot would work. But I've never used it with hot. I always just fill it up with water. You can actually buy also filters and stuff to put on the bottom of it. Looks like on the other ones, on the regular bottles, which I do have. I have several, and it's actually nice to have different ones. Not so much because the flavor, because it doesn't flavor the water itself that's in the bottle, but it's like certain things, like for example. This tumbler is not going to fit in the water bottle pocket on my backpack. That's just not going to happen.
Well, not the bulk of it, right? It'll fit up to that point where
it won't fit
widens
at all. It won't fit at all.
Not at all.
No, the handle gets in the road. So
yeah, right. Up until the time that it widens out, because the handle's on the wider part of the thing, but there isn't enough of it in there to make it stable. Right.
So that's why I have the 30 ouncer, which I usually go for the metal ones, although they do have plastic ones. But I like the metal ones because they seem to, even the single wall metal bottles keep the ice a little longer than the plastic ones would.
But this one has double wall vacuum insulation for prolonged ice retention in chilled drinks. It'll do the same thing for the hot. It will do so if you do like the coffee related stuff, right? For whatever reason, if you want like a hot tea, which I know they have as well, because we used to be very big in the circle. All right. Then you should be able to have a hot tea, right? In the wintertime and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think one thing would be nice is it says no, you should not use hot water with circle sips. So
but
okie
dokie. That's what it
One
says.
thing
It
I
said follow the
one thing
rules.
I wonder well, one thing I wonder on these two is if they have just a blank one, which would be nice. Or actually,
Mhm.
well, what you probably could do is if you had found a Stanley lid, it might work, so you can drink coffee out of it if you wanted to. But you
Mhm.
know, but I just use mine for the circle sips. My favorites being black cherry, white cherry,
Mhm.
and grape.
I also liked
I like the other ones too.
the cherry limeade was also very good.
Yeah, I can't find that one,
The
but
cherry limeade was also very, very good.
it's one of those things where they'll frequently, it's not nearly as frequent as like Coke with their Oreo Coke. By the way, I tried it, it don't bother. It's just,
That doesn't even sound good.
yeah, but
Individually, they sound good.
the
but
cookies were good, but
Right. But if
the
you go
drink
to
itself,
drinkcircle.com,
yes,
CIRKUL, drinkcircle.com, you might be able to find the cartridges online.
yes,
All right.
yes.
So if you want the cherry limeade,
And you can get a subscription, so they ship like a certain number to you every month. If
oh,
you'd
they
like
want you
that.
to do
well,
that.
they want you
Of
to do that,
course they
Bubba.
do, but
Badly,
but
and it's hard to get out
I
of that
don't.
prescription
Yeah,
if you want to. It's hard to get out of it.
I
trust me.
don't. I'm just as fine going to uh just going to, my Walmart has them, my Meyer also has them too. And plus, if you're into collecting things, like you're like into collecting the Stanley's, they kind of do the same thing with these. Not with the new tumbler. I don't know if they're doing that, but like a while ago, they brought out one with leopard spots on it. If you're like that,
Yeah, they've got
so
different designs that you can get at drinkcircle.com as well.
right.
So if it's out there, not too bad. But these things go from anywhere between $25 to $60.
Yep,
These
on the
tumblers, depending
tumblers,
on the
yes.
color. Depending on the color. All
Yep.
right. Which is
I like
actually
mine.
not a bad deal. So that's
Nope, I
that's
like
a good pick.
mine. It's a wonderful thing, and it makes me drink more water. So
Mhm. And that's the whole idea. That's the
Yep.
whole to get hydrated, which will help you. If you've got an Apple Watch, there's a hydration app that goes with it. I believe there are hydration apps on different Android Wear or Wear
and Garmin.
and on Garmin as well.
Yeah,
So there you go. Not a bad pick. And that, kids,
he's the
is
show.
the show. This has
Yeah.
been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 107. If it's a procedure that works, follow it consistently. Recorded live Sunday, September 22nd, 2024, live from iTechGear Central for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and the vacationing, gallivanting, and somewhere out there in an EA nearest you, Mr. Chris Gavula. I want to say we will see you next time.
Yay.